All right, so for this tutorial, we're going to start getting into creating our custom functionality within a script. And the first piece of that is we're going to create our first variable that we're going to use to control the size that the game object is going to grow to. All right, so the first step is to open up your script in MonoDevelop. So double click on the script in your project view. So you can see it over here. Double click on it and it should open up in MonoDevelop. Quick word about MonoDevelop. That's the scripting engine that Unity uses. You can use other scripting engines if you want, but I really recommend using MonoDevelop just because of the built-in functionality that you get. Okay, so first, let's just get a basic idea of what we're seeing here. So we have a few basic pieces. So this piece up here, these using statements, without getting too in-depth, they're basically just the way that you load pieces of functionality that you need into the engine. For our tutorials, if you need a using statement, I'll tell you when you need to add it. Going down the road, if you want to be able to do it yourself, usually it's just a matter of you try to use a piece of functionality, it doesn't work, and then you go look up which using statement you need. The next piece is the class declaration right here. So you've just got public and then class and then the name of the class. And this syntax is basically saying that this class is inheriting from mono behavior, which is the core class that all Unity components use. And this lets us get all the built-in functionality that comes with Unity scripting. So this is a really important class. And then there's just a couple of built-in functions, start and update. So start is a function that gets called when the class starts, and update is a function that gets called every frame when the engine updates. And we'll get into exactly what those mean, but basically these are just built-in functions, and by convention, these functions start with a capital letter, and they're camel case. Next, we're going to add our first variable. So I'll just show you the syntax real quick, and we'll kind of go through what it means. All right, so first we've got public, which is the access modifier, and we'll talk more about access modifiers in a little bit. And then next we have the type, and for this variable we're going to use a float, and we'll talk about types more as well. And then the name of the variable, which is going to be change amount. And because this variable is just going to be 0, we don't need to set it as anything. And then we just need a semicolon at the end of the line. Okay, so public float change amount. So if all went according to plan, saving, I'm just hitting Command S, in saving the file in MonoDevelop should update it over in Unity. So let's switch back and see what happens. Okay, and then we click on the cube in the hierarchy, and we go down to our script and our component, and we see that this change amount variable gets created. Your variable names need to be camel case as well, but the convention for them is to do lowercase first letter. And then you can see back over here, it all shows up. Okay, so there's two ways to declare variables in scripts in Unity, and I'll just show you the other way real quick. So down here, and I'll demonstrate the difference. So down here, let's create another variable, which to declare a variable in a script, you don't need an access modifier, so we'll just do float test variable equals 0.0f. So that's another thing to be aware of, is when you create a float in Unity, you need to add this f to the end. Not totally sure why, but that's the way that tells the engine, oh, okay, this is definitely a float. If you don't do this, it creates weirdness. So anytime you're talking about a float variable, make sure you always have that f at the end. That's a really common source of bugs. Okay, so we're gonna do float test variable, and then for the first time, we're gonna try something called a debug. So debug.log is just a way of taking something in your script and logging it so that you can see it in the console just to see what's going on. So we're also going to try auto-populate for the first time. So if you hit capital D, you should see debug pop up. then you hit tab, and that'll fill in, and then hit period for the dot notation. That's similar to Python, and then capital L, and you'll see the L for log, or see log pop up. Hit tab again, and then we're going to close the braces, and we're going to log test variable. So this is just going to take this test variable that we've created, and then we're going to log it in the console, and this is going to happen within the start function, which gets called when the script starts. So let's switch back to Unity and see what happened. Okay, so, and then you just hit Control P, I think on Windows, not sure if that's exactly right, but or you can just hit it up here, hit play. We need to play because this is inside of start. We need to actually play the video or play the game to actually see what happens. So hit Command P, and you can see 0 shows up down here at the bottom. So this is the result of the log. This is your console down here, so you can see that show up. So we can hit Command P again to stop it playing. So that worked. Now, just to understand the difference between variables you declare up here and variables you declare inside of a function, let's try this debug.log statement over here. Okay, so, and just try to guess what's going to happen in this situation. Okay, and so now you can see without even me hitting play, I get this error. So assets, the name test variable does not exist, okay? So the reason that happened is that when you declare variables inside of a function, they're only available in that function. That's the scope. The scope of that variable, which we've talked about that term before, is only inside of this function. Now, but variables declared up here are available in all of the functions. So if I were to debug.log change amount, which I'm just going to copy paste that in, and then go back here and hit play. Well, I can see, okay, my error goes away, and then I hit play, and I see 0. So that worked. So those are your two types of declarations. You have your declaration up here, which is available everywhere, and can be available in the inspector, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But so just you have your variable up, you declare your variable up here, it's available everywhere, or you declare your variable in a function if you just need to use it in a function and it's only available in that function.